I am building a new business, a new web design business, but this time completely different than the one I built 5 years ago. Because oh boy, I have learned a lot since then, and I also think the traditional agency model can go extinct in the upcoming few years, but more on that later. In this series, I want to take you with me on this journey where I will be building one part of the business in each episode. Starting in this episode with the vision. I believe that having a good vision should be the foundation for every new business. So let's get started. Building a new business is all exciting. I know that because I've been doing this entrepreneurship thing for quite a while now, and I know that that excitement only lasts for a few months. If you don't have a good plan and your business starts to grow, then it can start to feel like your business is controlling you because it's literally becoming bigger than you. So if you don't put limitations on it by having a good plan, then it can slowly start to consume you. This happened to me in the past. It was very exhausting, painful, and I don't want that again. I already had the idea for this business for quite some time, so the last year I just started gathering information, started writing down ideas, stuff that I saw from other people, things that I read in books, and this became a very long document. Actually, this document became so long that it was kind of overwhelming, and that's the thing that I don't want. So I went back to the principle I learned in design school to get clarity, which is identifying the problem to get to a solution. When you work from solving a problem, the only ideas that solve the problem the best are worth pursuing. If you think of it like this, then you don't feel like your ideas are wasted because you know you can't simply do it all. Ideas are cheap, but execution is expensive. So I said to myself, Rino, pick your ideas wisely and kill the rest. And in order to know which ones to kill, I have to go back to the problem. So let's take a look on where it went wrong in my previous web design business. What was the vision I had before in my previous business? The truth is, I didn't really have a focus. I just was so happy that I could finally build websites myself. You have to understand, when I went to design school, we literally had Photoshop and Dreamweaver. Developers worked in Dreamweaver or some other new cool code tools, and designers worked in Photoshop. There was no thing as XD or Figma even, and especially not page builders. Adobe tried it with one tool to mix design and development, but that project failed. And then things like Elementor came on the market, and I was like, wow, I can not only design now, but I can also build it without knowing code. I know the basics of HTML, CSS, but I cannot build a website like this with it, and it takes so much time, and I don't even like coding. So I was just so excited. So I put on my website, I design and build websites. No focus at all, just an excited dude who wants to sell websites. I was just excited that I could visualize my ideas and make them to come alive in a website, as I said on my homepage. But as you can see on my website, there is no focus. I just offered anything that had to do with web design and development. It didn't matter. And it started out going pretty well. I got some clients, but after a while, this approach created so many problems. The first one was that I didn't always know if I could deliver. The thing is, there are so many things possible within WordPress, you can never know it all. So what happened is that I accepted projects that I didn't even know if it was possible because I told myself, I can figure it out later. I'll just go on the plugin directory and I will always find something. But sometimes it wasn't even possible within the Elementor ecosystem to combine things, or it was just too complex for me. So what happened is that I had to disappoint clients sometimes. But this was a huge problem because I already accepted 50% of their money at the beginning of the project. This then creates massive stress inside of you and also a feeling of guilt. Of course, sometimes I gave the money back when it was really impossible, but still, this approach didn't work. The second problem that occurred because I delivered any kind of website is that I was never able to systemize anything. That's the problem when you do everything. Every project is so different that it's hard to create templates for yourself or systemize things, make things more efficient, and that down the line will limit your profitability. Actually, I think with many projects I wasn't even profitable because I also have my own bills to pay at the end of the month. Just chaotic in general. And the last thing is that it was quite hard to market myself, because if you don't deliver something specific, then what are you known for? I mean, I was just known as the Elementor guy, but that's not really a focus. It's a focus on a tool, but not on a specific niche or a specific kind of websites. So I was thinking about a solution the last year, and then I stumbled upon a book. The Company of One by Paul Jarvis. And this book talked exactly about the problem that I had. Let me read a few parts for you. In order to achieve autonomy or freedom as a company of one, you have to be a master at your core skill set. Competence and autonomy are tied together because the opposite, having complete control but no clue what you're doing, is a recipe for disaster. Which is basically what I had. I had all the control in the world, I could do anything, but I was not doing something that was within my skill set because many projects I didn't even know if it was possible, so I was not skilled at that particular part. He continues by saying the solution to find better clients and better projects has a lot to do with your skill and experience. When you're starting out and your skills aren't as developed, you won't be able to lead projects or be picky about the type of work you do. But as your expertise increases and your network grows, you can land better clients. The kind who would listen more carefully to how you would do what they are paying you to do. He explains for small companies, so a company of one person, it's better to build a business around your skill set instead of trying to find the best business model. Because what is the best business model really? Is it not the best business model for you? Or the best focus for you? He says, bear this in mind, achieving control over a company of one requires more than just using a core skill set you are hired for. It also requires proficiency at sales, marketing, project management, and client retention. For a company of one to succeed, a strategy for simplifying isn't just a desirable goal, but an absolute requirement. So he's also giving you a reality check here that running a company of one is already quite hard because you have to do all these things. You have to do the marketing yourself, the sales yourself. You have all these hats on, which all take up time. So if you don't build your business around your skill set, then it's going to be chaotic. And that's exactly the problem that I had. He also says that it will be hard to market yourself, which is also the problem that I had. And he talks a lot about systemization, making things more efficient, which is also a problem that I had. So after reading this book, I realized that I needed a stronger focus based on my skill set. That thought was so relieving, because if I just offer the websites where I already know what's possible, then I also don't have to figure it out. I don't have all that stress. It will be easier to market myself. Everything will become easier. So then I thought about what is my personal skill set? Well, because I've been making YouTube videos for years now, I've learned quite a few things about marketing and branding. And I really like that part. I also love good design, a good user experience on the website. And to be honest, I am less interested in the highly technical stuff. Even though I made a name for myself being the technical Elementor guy. I mean, not that I never talk about design, because I do that a lot as well, but it's not my main passion, even though I am passionate because Elementor allows me to visualize my ideas. But it's not my main passion. So Elementor is more a tool for me than the goal itself. So I thought about what kind of websites am I gonna sell then? And I came up with a solution, which is services-based websites. So this means websites for freelancers, consultants, local services businesses. And this also means no web shops, big listing websites and content websites, because those websites are technically a lot harder and have less of a marketing story. I like to build a marketing story, and that is possible when somebody delivers a service because you can tell their story on the website. So yeah, problem 1 solved. Very happy. Thanks, book. The second problem that I had was always wasting so much time at the beginning of a project without actually knowing if I was gonna get a project or not. The thing is, and you probably have experienced this for yourself as well if you're working with smaller companies, is that small companies don't really know always what they want and what they need, especially not what they need, because they're struggling themselves with their messaging, with their branding, and a website is this friction point where they are forced to think about how they should position themselves. But many small businesses, they start not with a vision, they start with selling a product or selling a service. And then when the time comes when they need to build a website, then they're like, oh shit, how am I gonna communicate this message? And that's where I always came in. Like I said, I am passionate about this branding and marketing. I love it. I love to help companies. But what happened is that we had multiple meetings, sometimes offline, sometimes online, where I tried to figure out what they actually wanted and what they needed on the website before I could even make an offer. Because how many pages do they need? Sometimes they say they need 8 pages, but it would be much better if it was just 3 or maybe just 1 page. Who knows? Well, you should figure that out together with the client. And so that process requires me to use all my years of experience that I have in design and marketing and collaborating with them in order to get to a plan. But this is basically what consultants do. They ask questions and they collaborate with the client to make a plan for the marketing. And so once I realized that, I was like, wait, am I doing all this consultancy work for free because I just want to get to a point where I can sell a website? And that made me realize that maybe I'm not just selling websites. Maybe I am helping them with their marketing and the website is just a tool to get them there. So what is the solution here? Well, the solution here is to position myself not just as a website seller, but as a company that helps them with their marketing, and a website is the main tool that I sell. I mean, I'm not going to do all marketing services. That's not the point. I'm not going to do social media management. They can find another company for that. But at least I can help them with figuring out their branding and their positioning. And I can just charge for that because I should get paid for that. Actually, if I don't do that, you know what happened often? I just said to them, you figured it out yourself. What they want, what kind of pages, what kind of menu structure, whatever. Guess what? I had to wait weeks and weeks and weeks because they don't know. This then also hurt my company because sometimes it took months for the client to get to a point. But I knew I could help them, but I also didn't want to waste the time because I sold a website and not marketing. So if I position myself not just as a website seller, but as someone who helps them with their marketing, I can just charge for that service. I can help them figure out what they need. The projects will start to move faster into production because I help them figure out what they need and I get paid for the hours I put in. I saw some other agencies online, they just charge for a discovery session. Why not? They just charge a few $100s to figure out what they need. And if the company doesn't want to pay that, sure, maybe that's not the client you want. Because if the client expects you to spend a day trying to figure out everything, are they really respecting your time? Think about that. I didn't respect my own time, and that's why I was frustrated often, because I felt used. Alright, next point. The traditional agency model is maybe over. In the future. Yes, that's a big statement, but hear me out. I realized if I look back at all the clients I had in the last 5 years, is that half of the clients that came to me already were messing around in Elementor themselves. I know. I have a YouTube channel where I explain Elementor things, so the chance that clients are gonna come to me that already know Elementor is a lot higher than the average agency owner. But still, we live in a time where any company can go on YouTube and figure out a basic website. I mean, maybe they watch my tutorial or someone else's tutorial. Doesn't matter. They can do it. And now with AI around the corner, I don't know if you've seen some of the crazy projects like ZipWP, you can create a website in minutes or 60 seconds, as they say. Not that this is the perfect solution that they want, but the thing is that if these things become more popular, or Elementor AI with generating containers, right? If it actually becomes good, and this will probably take a few years for it to become good, then clients can start themselves in Elementor even more than they already can today. And so this made me think. Actually, it made me think about a much bigger concept, and I would love to explore that with you, so stay with me. This insight came to me when I was watching a video about the Silk Road in China. Back in the day, paper was invented by the Chinese. And so what happened is that the Chinese started to sell paper to Europe, which was very needed because people wanted to read the Bible. But everything still had to be written by hand, and so there were not a lot of copies from the Bible. And so the only Bibles there were in the churches. So the church was the only place where you could learn about the content of the Bible. But then in Europe, the Gutenberg press was invented, or the printing press, which made it possible to make templates of the pages of the Bible and then press it on a page. This made it possible to make a lot more copies from the Bible, and so the Bible ended up in the homes of the people. So the people started to read the Bible themselves. And when people started reading the Bible themselves, they realized that some of the things that the Catholic Church said were not in the Bible at all. And this started a whole revolution, which created a big war for many years, which eventually created the Protestant Christian movement, which we still have until today. By the way, isn't it funny how this machine was called the Gutenberg press? Think about that. So why am I saying all of this, right? Why am I talking about the Bible? Well, because a technology like this gave power to the people. Now, think about WordPress. What did WordPress do for the world? Back in the day, if you wanted to publish a story, so what I mean is, let's say in 1980, before the internet, if you wanted to publish a story, you had to talk to the magazine or newspaper and then publish the story. So the people that managed the magazines and the newspaper decided what story was going to be published or not. Then with the internet, WordPress came along and they said, like, you know what? You can publish it yourself. We call it a blog. We don't care what you post. Power to the people. And guess what? It became massively popular. Now WordPress is also used for other kinds of websites, but the fact is, it gave power to the people. Now we have the whole wave of crypto and Web3, which also has the goal to give power back to the people. For example, with money that is not managed by a bank anymore, it can go directly from person to person. And now let's go back to the topic of today. Page builders. What did page builders do to the website market? In the year 2000 or 2005, if you wanted a website, you would have to pay a lot of money. I think at least 10 or 20 grand, because everything was hand-coded, there were no design tools, especially not page builders, so it was a lot of work to make a website. And in the future with AI, normal businesses can easily make a simple website. And this is a huge thing. Technology sometimes gives power back to the people, in the same way as page builders give power to the clients. So is it really smart to position yourself just as an Elementor dude, while at the same time technology with AI and generation is getting so good that a client can make a website in a few hours without you? So then what is your role? And when I realized this, I was like, wait, maybe this is another argument on why I shouldn't position myself just as the Elementor website dude, but more as someone who helps them with their marketing. Because this is still what people struggle with. A client can talk to an AI machine like this and poop out a website in a few minutes, but AI will always give you something based on your input, so what you think you need. But the clients don't know what they need. So maybe the future of a web designer is not just designing the web and building it, but helping them with their marketing, because that's what clients will always struggle with. Am I saying here that big 10k, 20k websites will never be sold anymore? No, of course not, because there are also a lot of companies who don't want to mess around with WordPress themselves and just want everything to be outsourced. So I'm not saying the agency model is going to die, but I am saying that the lower part of the market, which are a lot of people who are not really that good with websites, they will have a hard time competing with tools like this. Or even with Elementor tutorials that show someone how to create a whole website by themselves. This was quite a painful realization, but also a very important one. As Charles Darwin said, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but rather the one most adaptable to change. So are we as web designers ready for the change that is about to come to our market? I gave a lot of clues in this video on what you should be doing. I am definitely gonna do that. I'm gonna change my positioning a lot, not just selling websites anymore, but I'm gonna help them with their marketing to get them results, to help them position themselves in the market, because I know that's where clients struggle. This gives me great direction for my new company. And the last problem I want to tackle in this video, which is a short one, is that I had no vision for how big the company was going to be. When I started out with this business, I was like, let's just make as much website as possible and let's see how much money I can make. But that strategy is not really a good one, because your business can become bigger than you and your calendar, basically. Now, I want to protect what I have. I love making these videos, but they cost time. 1 or 2 days per week I have to spend on YouTube in order to create something. I've now started on this course. This also takes me 1 day a week. And so I cannot be always available for my clients, and that's okay. It's my decision, and it's also up to the client whether they want to work with me. I should just be very clear about what the situation is and that I only want to spend 1 day a week on client work. That's the decision that I've made. If I want to expand it in the future, that's fine, I can do it, but for now I'm gonna start with 1 day a week, and so clients should not expect to get a response super fast. I work on my terms now. Okay, so what is the final plan for this new business? Let's summarize it a little bit. The first point is that I'm going to limit what websites I am offering. For my business, this means service-based businesses, because that's where I can have the most impact for my clients, because that's where my skills are. This will also make it easier for me to predict how much work it is. It will make it easier to market myself, and it will be easier to systemize my business, because the projects are not all over the place, because there are much of similarities between the projects. And if I'm only focusing on service-based websites, my clients at some point will also profit, because I will become more specialized in services websites. I'm not just gonna sell websites anymore, but I'm going to position my company as a company that helps businesses with their marketing, where the main tool is the website. But I also help them discover their positioning, their story brand, and how they're gonna market themselves. And the last thing is that I want to keep things small, because I also have other things that I want to work on in my life. This means that I'm not going to be always available to answer questions, and clients should know that. If they want full security and super fast responses, then they should hire another agency, and that's fine. I'm going to start with 1 day a week, and if I like it, then I can expand it. So yeah, a lot of insights and thinking, but I think this is the next step for web designers in general. I honestly think in the future it's just not enough to just know Elementor, even though Elementor is quite complex and most clients will not understand it for now, but AI is getting better every month. But of course, this is just my approach, my changes that I'm gonna do. If you think I'm making a massive mistake, then you can let me know in the comments, but I do want some good arguments because I think this plan is pretty good. That's it, and if you want to follow me a little bit closer, then make sure to follow me on Instagram. For now, I just want to thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next episode in this series.